Oh my
too. So we're finally getting together online to discuss Hunting Prince Dracula. Yeah, I have my copy too.
Oops. Oops. Keep talking.
But it took us a while to get through it, and then last weekend Robin had a dance conference thing that she went and for. And I'm assuming you had a great time.
Oh my god, yeah.
Robin does belly dance and she loves it.
If you haven't seen the previous videos, like the one where I was in costume.
Yes. So really it was mostly the book took Robin a while to get through. I don't know if you started it later than me or what.
I have been exhausted.
She's been working a lot of overtime.
And unlike you, I can't listen to books on tape at work.
True. That's how I get through most of my books, if I can, is by listening to books on tape at work, because I work midnights and can just put in some headphones, and as long as I'm in the office, I'm fine.
Lucky.
So this is the sequel to Hunting Prince Dracula.
It follows the sequel to Stalking Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, that's what I meant. It's the sequel to Stalking Jack the Ripper. It follows Audrey Rose Wadsworth and Thomas Cresswell as they go and to a forensic school in Romania. And they believe that they've been enrolled in the school, and then when they get there, they find out, no, they're competing for spots in the school, and the headmaster has a problem with Audrey because she's a girl.
Everyone has a problem with Audrey because she's a girl.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the 1880s, so yeah. But Audrey's dealing with the fallout from book 1, and she clearly has some like PTSD issues going on that she's not addressing. She has flashbacks. She imagines corpses coming to life. Still hears the sounds from her brother's laboratory. And her way of handling it is just plowing through. Like she doesn't want to address it. She doesn't want to deal with it. She doesn't want to seem weak. And for most of their time traveling, Thomas lets her. He thinks, she can deal, like, however she's dealing with it is how she must have to deal with it. But he does start to get a little, like, overprotective in many ways. It actually ends up causing some issues between them. Because he like tries to like protect her from the other guys. He tries to protect her from professors asking too much of her. He is like, we can always go home and try again after you're better. And she gets really upset with him because she feels like he's making decisions for her. And her biggest fear in life is that if she gets married, she will be chained
down.
Yes. That she feels like because of what marriage is in this time period, if she gets married, it means giving up who she is and just being Mrs. Thomas Cresswell. And I can understand that. I can understand why she freaks out about his seeming to make decisions for her. Because she's always thought that he thinks of her as an equal, and she feels like that's him not treating her as equal, which kind of is true. But at the same time, I'm sitting there and I was like, we all have natural instincts to protect those we care about. Do we not?
Yeah.
And when we see somebody struggling emotionally, it makes kind of sense to try and be like, maybe you shouldn't push yourself so hard.
But it's not like he said, hey, maybe you shouldn't push yourself so hard. He goes out of his way to make sure she doesn't push herself so hard.
Yeah, that's he crosses a line as opposed to talking to her about it and being like, hey, maybe we should go home and you should rest,
Or
And
hey, you have issues.
yeah, he's just like, no, we're gonna go home and try again next semester or
Or he
something.
goes around tells everyone, like, yeah, she's a girl. Any sign of weakness is seen like 10 times worse.
Because women are naturally thought of as weak. So when he tells the their one of their professors that she has a weak constitution after the Ripper case, it's seen as she has a weak constitution because she's a girl, not because, she's got PTSD.
Because, I mean, no one really knows what she saw during the Ripper case.
Nobody really knows what she's going through emotionally. She's struggling with the fact that she still loves her brother. Like, she loves her brother. And she has trouble, like, relating to the fact that not only does she love him and he was this great brother to her, but then she's sitting there and she's like, how is it even in line with the fact that he was murdering and torturing women? Like, she can't bring those two sides of him together in her head to make sense of any of it. And so, like, that combined with seeing her mother's dead body twitch, seeing like everything she went through, it's definitely like you can totally understand why she's having issues.
I mean, like, we can, but like I said, besides, the people who are there, no one knows her brother was the Ripper.
Right, because since he's dead, they've basically covered up the fact that he was the Ripper to save their family's reputation, which is kind of shady, if you ask me. Like that's not okay. I mean, I'm kind of assuming that probably is what happened with the Ripper case at some point, because obviously he stopped murdering women, um, or left, one of the two.
He
No,
left, died, something.
something. And since nobody
Got
really knows,
arrested for something else.
yeah,
I
since no,
watched too many crime dramas.
um, but you can assume if he was highborn, then they probably covered up the fact that he was the Ripper, because that's what highborn people do when they have family shame.
Sweep it under the rug, sweep it under the rug.
um, but so a whole new case starts basically the moment they're headed to Romania. They're on the Orient Express, which actually the book talks about the fact that was a total fabrication because the Orient Express wasn't even in service for like another year or two like after this. But she really wanted them to be on the Orient Express, so she fudged the timeline a little.
I like that they do have the thing in the back that tells you what's real and what's not.
Yeah, because like at the very back of the book of each of the books, she tells you what like from her research is let me find it. She mentions what historical and creative liberties were taken by the author. I think a lot of that is just to show that she really did do her research and she knows about the time period. But she decided to fudge things anyway because it's historical fiction and you can do that. But yeah, the apparently the Orient Express did not stop in Bucharest until early 1889, a few months after Audrey and Thomas rode it to school during the winter of 1888. But she's always loved the train and couldn't resist opening the novel with it. So I guess it was in service. It just didn't stop in Bucharest at the time. But they're on board the train and Audrey sees like she leaves the I can't even remember why she left their compartment, but she leaves the compartment to go for a walk, to breathe or something. She was having a flat, like one of her
I think that's what it was.
moments, and she needed to get away so that because she doesn't want Thomas to truly see how much she's struggling. Which in and of itself is a relationship problem because she needs to like if they're going to go anywhere, she needs to be able to trust him with what's going on with her. And I think that's why he starts making the decisions he does, because she's not taking care of herself. She's not doing what she really needs to do. And he wants her to be better. He wants her to be her. And it hurts him to see her like this too. And so they're on board the train. She's taking a walk. She sees somebody who her brain interprets it as her brother, which of course we know is impossible because he died at the end of the first book. But she swears it's him. She follows him. Turns out it's not. It's not even an Englishman. It's a Romanian guy. And she returns to the compartment and is talking to Thomas. He's about to tell her something, and she thinks he's about to like either tell her that he loves her forever or that he's going to end their friendship. She doesn't know which way the conversation is going to go, which is kind of hilarious that she doesn't know, because we all knew. Well, sort of. If it was one of those two things, we know which one it'd be. But they get interrupted by something falling against their compartment door, and turns out it's the guy she just ran into, dead, staked through the heart.
That was weird.
That was weird.
That was weird.
It's very convenient that it just.
I know, right?
He somehow managed to make it back past their compartment just in time to die. Like, that was serious Deus Ex Machina stuff.
Out of all the people on the train, that guy.
Yeah. So they start investigating because it's Audrey and Thomas, and they don't know how to keep their noses out of stuff when people are dying.
Why are people dying around them so much?
Yeah, that is a big question. Why are so many people dying around them? So they go to school. Audrey makes some new friends. Not in any of the boys there, because they're all kind of like, why is a girl here? But she has a lady's maid, not really a lady's maid, more of a chambermaid named Ileana, who she makes friends with. She makes friends with the ward of the headmaster, Anastasia. And then Thomas's sister comes to visit, which is a hilarious scene. And she makes friends with her too. And I really like this one because in the previous book, we only get to see her. The only true female friendship we see is with her cousin. And this book kind of shows that she's not, she's capable of making friendships with other girls. Even though
vapid ones.
Right. She dislikes a lot of the high-born ladies in London because all they care about is clothes and boys. And gossip and who's marrying who. Which
that's still close to boys.
Yeah. And I mean, her cousin kind of is a little obsessed with all those things, but is also like, she's normal girl obsessed, not like that's the only thing she ever thinks about.
She shows signs of wanting other things, but when you live with her mother?
Yeah. Her mother wants her to be a, like, normal
Her
lady.
mother is like Aunt, whatever her name is like hardcore Victorian lady.
Yes.
And like, you will follow every prescriptive social, what's the word I'm looking for? More?
I think so, yeah.
Like, social more to the letter. You will not step outside of this itty bitty box.
Yeah, you're gonna stay home and you're gonna knit and crochet and embroider, and that's
so
about
the fact that it starts with an L. What's her cousin's name?
Liza.
Yeah. Okay, we'll say Liza for now. So the fact that Liza has any type of sense of adventure is amazing.
Yes, Liza is her cousin, and she wants to go on a grand tour. She wants to, like, she doesn't want to do sciencey stuff, but she wants to do things that would be
Give her
scandalous.
mother a heart attack.
Yes. In fact, we see letters between her and Audrey in this book, and apparently she's seeing a magician. Well, she's flirting with him, which, like, a traveling magician, and I'm pretty, well, escape artist, I believe she calls him, which I
Yeah,
believe
it was an escape artist. I'm like, is this going to be related to Houdini?
I believe it's going to be related to Houdini. Which the next book is Escaping Houdini, and we're going to be reading that next. But
maybe now that I don't have to work for 4 days straight, I might get through the book quickly.
You might finish it before I do, because I have to work all week.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I get time and a half on Thursday plus holiday pay.
Oh my God, you have to work on Thursday?
Yeah.
I am so sorry.
I work the night before and the night of and the night after.
Yep, nope. My last day of work is Tuesday. Okay, so back to the book.
But she so I really like the fact that they show her making friendships with other girls. Daciana is really
I love Darcy.
she's very brilliant. She's got Thomas's ability to read people and like make like deductions on based on what she sees. But she doesn't use it to the same way Thomas does. She more does it just for the fun of it. We also discover that she's gay, which I thought was a really interesting touch. She's actually in love with Ileana, the maid.
Yeah. I was not expecting that one.
And Audrey stumbles upon them in like making out in a morgue, which is a really weird place. Like, I get they went there because they thought they'd be alone and nobody would bother them in the middle of the night, but it's still a really weird place to be making out.
To be honest, in the middle of the night in a castle where they have a curfew, anywhere should have been safe for them. They chose the morgue. They could have chosen, I don't know, servant quarters. Really didn't Darcy have some quarters somewhere?
She had to have. She was staying there for a couple of days.
I'm like, no, they chose the morgue.
And I don't think they had a full curfew yet. They just had to be in the building by a certain time.
Okay,
I
think
that was before they officially had a curfew.
Maybe not. It was just improper for
people to be wandering the halls that way.
For Audrey to be anywhere but her own room.
But I really like the way she handled that, because not only is that like, I mean, not unusual for the time period. We don't really know how unusual or not it was for that time period because people didn't talk about it enough. But the fact that the moment Audrey saw it, she knew that if it got out, Darcy would be all sorts of shamed. She would basically, like, Audrey's reputation being alone with Thomas is bad, like, is in jeopardy enough. Darcy's would be like completely shunned. And the fact that she's just cool with it, like, she apologizes for barging in on them. She feels deep shame for it, but not because they were two women, but because she just is like, I shouldn't have seen that because it's rude.
It's rude for them to, be banging up against the wall that she shares with the morgue.
Yes, which alone is like, why would you put somebody in that specific room? You couldn't put her down the hall at least a little ways. But Audrey, being Audrey, thought somebody was under attack because somebody died since they got back, since they left. She's dealing with her PTSD. She hears a ruckus that sounds like people fighting, and she goes to investigate and walks in on them. And she apologizes profusely. She's like any happiness anybody can get in this world is a great thing. And I really liked that because given the time period, she could have like the author could have completely gone the other way with it. And I liked that Thomas kind of saw it as a sign that Audrey was that his feelings for Audrey were well placed, because he stands like, he's like, when she first starts talking about it with him, he's like, do you have a problem with that? You shouldn't. It's fine. You know, he's like ready to go to bat for his sister, which is awesome. So I'm still kind of mad at him for the way he introduced Darcy and Audrey. Though you would think she'd have recognized her from the picture in book 1.
Well, it depends on how long she looked at the picture.
She looked at it long enough to be like getting angry that she thought he had a fiance or something.
And that was still, you know, not only is it a picture, it's an 1880s picture.
True.
It's not the best pictures. And it had been what, a few weeks, a month. I'm sorry, I don't remember stuff that happened yesterday.
But so how he does it is he invites her to his quarters in the middle of the night, which she's it's like scandalous. Super scandalous, and she kind of goes being like, well, maybe if my reputation gets tarnished, I won't have to marry anybody and I can just be free. And so they're in his rooms, and this dark-haired beauty just shows up out of nowhere, and he gives her this great big hug, and they're very clearly have a very intimate love, like a very intimate relationship. And she's like, I don't care. Like, Audrey's sitting there thinking, I don't care. He can court whoever he wants. We haven't made any promises to each other. Meanwhile, she's seething because, you know, how dare he invite her here when he's got another girl coming?
See, that if it wasn't his sister, that would be rude.
Oh, it would be super rude. And so he
like even now, that would be rude.
Yes. So he turns around after hugging Darcy, sees her face, and goes, that is my favorite face you make, because he can tell that she's jealous, and that makes him happy because it means she's got feelings for him, and that's what he's basically constantly trying to test, is whether she likes him or not, because she's constantly threatening to kill him.
Well, I mean, I've threatened to kill people.
Yeah.
I probably threatened to kill you a few times.
So he then is like, let me introduce you to my sister Daciana. And she's like, the scoundrel orchestrated this just to see what I was feeling about all of it, to learn how I felt about him, which is probably true.
Probably.
Okay, it's definitely true because it's Thomas, and he does that sort of thing. So they start, like, throughout their investigations, they discover that there's people attacking members of the Romanian royal family. But not like main members. They're all like an offshoot. And Audrey thinks that it's people attacking the bloodline of Vlad Dracula. And what she doesn't realize is that it's the other branch, the Danesh line. Or that was how the audiobook person read it. I feel like
it's something like that.
Where
did I just throw the book at?
Daneshti, according to the pronunciation guide. So there are two lines of the original royal house of Romania, which is the Daneshti and the Draculeshti. And one of the people that is enrolled, like competing for the spots in the school, Prince Andre, is a member of the Daneshti line. so is like one of the police officers that's investigating is all like who is on the train is also part of the Dinesh line. And
Nikolai.
I'm blanking.
Prince Nikolai.
I was thinking for some reason I used his friend Andre popped into my head.
I was sitting there thinking how many princes were in this book.
You're right. Nikolai is Dinesh. The Andre is not. He's just a family friend.
Willem is Dinesh.
William was, and he died very early on after their arrival at the school. And the headmaster Moldovno decides to just replace him like right away with another hopeful who happens to be from America.
I wonder if he's going to be in the next book.
I don't know.
Okay, back to where we were.
I don't think so because he got enrolled in the school, and I think most people who get enrolled, who win the spots in the school, would want to stay and see that out. So obviously we know that since there's going to be more books, and the next book was escaping from Houdini, we kind of like, even when it first came out, I read it like last year when it first came out, and you kind of knew with the way she does the books where they travel from place to place, they're not going to get the spots in the school. Either they're that or they're going to get them and turn them down because they want to travel and do other things. So she in the yet another turn of miraculous events, Thomas just so happens to be the last surviving male heir of Vlad Dracula. Because why not?
I mean, we've already had so many improbable situations in this book. Let's just throw in another one.
So that's the thing. He spends like the first half of the book trying to tell her anytime that they have a moment alone together. He wants to tell her that, you know, of his lineage. He's kind of nervous because he's afraid she's going to hate him because, you know, who wants to be possibly romantically involved with the Impaler's great grandson. So he finally tells her. They start realizing the connection between the people being attacked as mostly Danesh, the line people. Some of them are being posed as if they're vampires where they're being staked through the heart. Others are being set up to look like they have been drained by vampires. And I really thought it was interesting that very early on in their whatchamacallit class, their folklore class, they're talking about Vlad Dracula and his myth. Do you remember where that was?
No.
It's one of the classes that Anastasia sat in on.
That's like their first class.
Hold on a second. There's I think it is their first class that they show. But they're talking about Vlad Dracula and the myth about how he used to drink blood.
This book needs a table of contents.
Yes, it does.
Only so that way we can talk about it.
But they are just folklore class.
Just keep talking.
They're talking about Okay, here it goes.
I think I found it. December 4th?
Yes, 4 December 1888. um it the Impaler Lord was thought to drink from the necks of his still living victims. It was meant to inspire fear in those who sought to invade our country. But history says his preferred method was dipping bread into the blood of his enemies and ingesting it in a more civilized manner. And Audrey goes, "Oh yes," I whispered to Thomas. "Dining on blood is more civil when one dunks their bread in it as if it were hearty winter stew, as opposed to calling it a precursor to cannibalism. First one drinks blood and then they move on to sauteing up some organ meat," Thomas mumbled back. "Next comes the blood gravy." "Scientifically improbable," Anastasia whispered. "What's improbable? Blood gravy?" Thomas asked. "Not so. It's one of my favorites because they're British, and British people actually like blood gravy for some god-awful reason."
There's a lot of things the British people like that's not tea.
Blood pudding. Blood pudding.
Yeah.
Why blood pudding? Anastasia seemed momentarily stunned before shaking her head. "Ingesting blood the way Radu's implying would lead to too much iron in one's system. I wonder if he bathed in it and said that would be more logical."
I didn't remember that.
And their teacher overhears them, and Audrey goes, "We were saying perhaps Dracula bathed in the blood?" And he goes, "I believe you're confusing Vlad Dracula with the Countess Elizabeth Bathory. She's sometimes called the Countess Dracula and was said to bathe in the blood of the servants she killed. Nearly 700 of them, if reports are accurate. A very, very messy business. Another good lesson, though." And that's like foreshadowing if I've ever seen it.
Oh my God.
From the person who suggested it. What's that?
It's like, hello, platter here.
So, there's a scene where they find a dead body in the catacombs under the castle, because of course there's catacombs under the castle. And it's a blonde. It's a brunette girl, right? Because Anastasia is brunette, if I remember correctly. I keep envisioning her as blonde. I don't know why, but she's brunette, correct?
Oh, I don't know. And I just read this not that long ago.
I'm pretty sure.
I know at some point she was wearing a wig. That's the other one. Nope.
But they find a girl in the catacombs. She's been feasted on by vampire bats. And that apparently Vlad Dracula like relocated to the area, even though they don't actually, they're not actually supposed to live there. In part because of his reputation for blood drinking. And he they managed to be able to get the head, like they secretly tell the headmaster through a note that there's a body down there. They eventually bring it up, and it's announced that Anastasia is the girl that was found in the catacombs. And Audrey's devastated because this was her friend, blah blah blah. Even though she kept making snide remarks about wanting Thomas for herself, which was yet again, like, she always passes it off as she's joking. But the first time I read through it, I was kind of like, I don't think she's really your friend. And then she died, and I was like, okay, maybe she's not the impaler. She's blonde? Okay. Then she must have been wearing a dark wig at some point.
She was wearing a wig when she was on the train.
Okay.
I knew she was wearing a wig at some point. But yeah, she's like, oh yeah, no one noticed the dark girl with, because wigs.
But she turns out she's descended from Countess Bathory and wants to marry Thomas so they can combine their bloodlines and take over Romania.
Not just combine their bloodlines, but like create like horrible children.
Yeah, she wants them, like, they find her. So when they finally go through near the end to be like investigate, because they believe that whoever the Impaler is has not only Daciana but Prince Nikolai, and well, they're debating whether the Impaler might be Daciana or Ileana or Prince Nikolai himself. All three have disappeared. And so they go back down into the catacombs. They get deeper than they ever have. They discover basically a tomb with like a tree made of bones. Like it was a tree made of bones.
Yeah.
I
am so glad that was not one of the pictures in this book.
And there was a bath filled with blood. And so they Audrey climbs to the top of the tree for something, like some sort of note or something that was up there, because they had received a note saying that if they didn't get down there in time, she would be dead by dawn or something like that. I don't exactly remember. It's been a while since I finished the book.
I got to that point, I started skimming.
But when they're trying to escape with Prince Nikolai, who's been drained of blood and poisoned, because they discovered the killer's actually using arsenic to poison people and then
draining their blood.
And then draining their blood because it's easier to attack them that way. And you can slip arsenic into anything, and then and that's kind of what leads them to think it's Ileana, because being being a girl, being smaller, like arsenic would make it easier to attack and kill somebody. But they get down to she gets the note or whatever it was in the tree and nearly falls back down. Thomas catches her. They find Nikolai. He's almost dead. And then they suddenly hear somebody coming out of the bathtub, because apparently somebody was fully in the bathtub filled with blood.
With a straw.
Using a straw to be able to breathe.
I didn't even know they had straws in the 1800s.
I don't think it's a plastic straw, if it helps any.
It's not, because they said something about it being ruined, but still. Who would go to the I didn't know they had straws.
People who bathe in blood, Robin.
I love the way I am more worried about this straw than the... Okay, I was worried about the bathtub full of blood. I have issues with that, too.
So, it turns out it's Anastasia. She faked her death using one of the village girls that had gone missing. And did not have Daciana or Ileana at all. The girl she was referring to was Audrey. Because she wants Thomas to kill Audrey so that they can solidify their match. Because, he's just randomly going to kill the girl he's been pining after for months now on the word of somebody who,
is clearly crazy.
And literally he just met her in the last few weeks. Yeah. But she's convinced, because he's the great grandson of Vlad Dracula, that he'll just be on board with, murder and taking
it runs in the bloodline.
Yeah. And it's really funny because she insists that Audrey hands Thomas the knife that she has. I think it was a knife, or it was a gun.
Knife. She had a gun, but she wanted Audrey to hand over a knife.
Right. So Audrey does, because she trusts Thomas like a smart girl. And she's like, this is like, Anastasia has made her biggest mistake of all, because Thomas would never hurt me. And she's right, because Thomas would never hurt her.
A normal person wouldn't hurt her.
True. Anybody sane would not hurt her to combine bloodlines with Anastasia. But yeah, God. So the book is full of foreshadowing if you know what you're looking for. because when I was first reading it, I thought for sure it was Anastasia until, you know, she was dead. And then I was like, well, maybe I was wrong. But no, I was right.
I have an issue with this bathtub full of blood.
I think most people have an issue with a bathtub.
No, I don't have a moral. Okay, I have a moral issue against a bathtub full of blood. I have just scientifically, my brain is not
getting enough blood that's not coagulated, like
yes,
fresh blood to do that. Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Because she did not get all of that from Nikolai.
No, because he was still conscious, and
yeah,
even if he
wasn't, that's still like what, like a gallon and a half.
Yeah, so
not enough to
breathe in. And she could, like, her other victims had all been dead long enough to where the blood should be coagulated. That was the whole problem Nathaniel had when he was trying to write in blood, was that it went bad.
Why are we doing this?
Because it's fun.
Okay.
So yeah, who knows who else she killed? Maybe it was animals. Is possible.
Okay.
But
I'm just gonna call it a plot hole.
Okay, well, we can call it a plot hole. Maybe I can tweet Kerri Maniscalco and see what her answer is.
We have an issue with this bathtub full of blood.
So,
I feel like this is a conversation for us, and the internet is just here.
So once again, in kind of Deus Ex Machina fashion, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Daciana and Ileana show up.
That was so Deus Ex Machina. I'm sitting here reading like, what the hell just happened?
So apparently what's been happening the whole time is Dacia and Ileana are part of the Order of the Dragon. They're actually their first female members, which are there to get rid of, like, the Order of the Dragon was formed to root out corruption in the government. Basically, if they feel that a political leader is too powerful, they'll take him out or something. To which Thomas and Audrey have a real problem, and Dacia and Ileana say, no, we've kind of changed. We're more of like sort of special operatives for the royal family now. I feel like that's what they were kind of getting at.
I still feel like they're awfully vigilante in it, because they said that they help the villagers and the people and the monarchy.
Right.
So it's not even like they're spec ops.
So it could just be they're being like not so vigilante just because the current monarchy is fairly
good.
But so they're both members, and they've been investigating the deaths themselves, and a lot of the members, a lot of the people who died, with the exception of the village girl and the maid that died in the castle, I think most of them were also members of the Order of the Dragon.
They were, I want to say, except for those two, everyone Anastasia killed was either a member of the Order, or was a member of the Dynasty line.
Right. So
she killed someone she killed at least one person before the book started.
Right. And I believe he was also related to Nikolai, but I can't remember.
Who?
The guy that died. He was a member of the Order of the Dragon because he was the village girl's husband, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, something like that.
And the village girl was killed to help Anastasia fake her death, because when they were in her home, Audrey actually thought about the fact that she looked an awful lot like Anastasia, which should have been a clue as well. But so they managed to arrive just in time to save Audrey Rose and Thomas from the mad woman and kill her
with a sword.
Yeah, with a sword. And then they kind of have to explain to Moldovno everything that happened and why his ward's dead again. And he
kind of, dude, you didn't notice that your ward was crazy? Then again, no one noticed with Nathaniel either.
Yeah, and so they get kicked out because, you know, they're partly responsible for his ward's death, and he actually loved his not quite niece. And so they go back to Daciana's home in Bucharest.
Yep.
And there's a Christmas Eve party, and Audrey Rhodes gets all dressed up pretty in a dress that Thomas bought her that she had been drooling over, and he saw her drooling over it, and so he bought it for her, and managed to make it fit like a glove because he's that attuned to just what her dimensions are. Because dresses at that time, in that time period, were, you know, fitted to the individual person instead of being just like, here, you're a size 6.
And nowadays you ask a guy what size his, you know, his wife, his girlfriend, whatever wears. I don't know.
I think it depends on the guy too.
It does.
Some guys pay attention to that sort of thing because they like to buy their girl stuff.
Yeah. And some guys are just smart enough to go in their closet and look.
That too, if they want to get something. But they there's this really touching scene at the very end, like near the very end, where Audrey decides she's going to start wearing pants now. You broke up a little bit there.
It was just the way you said that.
Well, it's kind of like shocking for the time period. Even she admits that it's going to be super scandalous.
Okay, but the thing is, she had already done that in the first book.
No, she was wearing riding pants. There's a difference.
Really?
A little bit, yeah. Based on their society standards, yes.
Even when she was wearing the riding pants, it was kind of scandalous for her not to wear them when she wasn't riding.
Yes, but it's even more so to just like all out wear guys' pants.
And they are clearly not like guys' pants. They were made for her because they fit like, whoa.
Yes. And she also bought herself a basically a sheath for her scalpel.
Yes.
So that she can have it at all times because she's Audrey and she's kind of awesome like that.
And that was super scandalous. I'm like, you are in tight-fitting pants, and that's the scandalous thing.
And you have a scalpel strapped to your leg. So, and her thing about that is she never wants to be unarmed again, so she's going to be carrying her scalpel at all times now. Which is, to me, a scalpel doesn't seem like a very good weapon.
But it's one that she's at least comfortable with.
True, and I suppose it is quite sharp.
Yes, it is very sharp.
So it probably could be used to incapacitate it, even if it doesn't, like, and I suppose she knows the human body pretty well, she could probably cut an artery really fast. If she needed to. But so Thomas wanders in on her while just after she finishes getting dressed in this super scandalous, awesome outfit that is like, I feel like it's the Audrey Rose equivalent of like Black Widow getting dressed up to go to like go out and be an Avenger. Like I felt like it was like an Avenger suit up moment. I really do.
The outfit in my head. Are you looking for the outfit?
I am looking for it. So they had spent the night before kind of making out in some ferns because
Why not?
Of course they did. Um,
14.
uh, and Thomas walks in on her and goes, "You're stunning." And she goes, "Sneaking into a young woman's sleeping chambers twice in 1 month is rude even by your lax standards, Cresswell. Even when I'm sneaking about in my own home at this time, and when I brought a gift." He had a feline tilt to his smile as he laid a canvas against the door and stalked into the room, circling me. Unapologetically, he inspected each inch of my ensemble and stepped close enough for me to feel the heat of his body. Suddenly feeling shy, I nodded back towards the canvas. "May I see it?" "Please indulge your fancies." I walked over to the painting and turned it around, my breath catching at the sight. A single orchid glittered as if it had been encapsulated in ice. I bent closer, realizing that wasn't correct at all. The orchid was actually a star-speckled sky. Thomas had painted the entire universe within the confines of my favorite flower. A memory of him offering me an orchid during the Ripper investigation crossed my mind. I leaned the painting against the wall and flicked my gaze up. "How did you know?" Thomas swallowed hard, his attention fixed on the painting. "The truth?" "Please. You've got a dress with orchid blossoms embroidered on it. Ribbons in the deepest purple. You favor the color, but not nearly as much as I find myself favoring you. As to the stars, those are what I prefer. More than medical practices and deductions, the universe is vast, a mathematical equation even I have no hope of solving. There are no limits to the stars, their numbers are infinite, which is precisely why I measure my love for you by them, an amount too boundless to count." Slowly enough to make my heart race, he reached out and pulled a pin from my hair. A section of raven curls fell cascading in a cascading layer down my back as the gold plunked to the floor. "I am wholly bewitched, Wadsworth." He plucked another pin, then another, my hair entirely releasing my hair entirely from its restraints. There was something intimate about him seeing me with my hair unbound in his private chamber, about his confession, like a secret language the only the two of us knew how to speak. "Are you implying your feelings are the result of some sort of spellcraft, then?" I teased. "What I mean is, I can't pretend that I'm not. I suppose what I'm trying to say is that it's been a few months." Thomas scratched his brow. "I was hoping to make things a bit more official, in some capacity, whichever way you prefer, actually." "Official in what way?" My heart banged around the inside of my chest, searching for a crack to escape from. I could scarcely believe we were having such a conversation, especially while alone. Although I could scarcely believe Thomas had practically said, "I love you," which is what I needed to hear again, just once, without prodding. "You know what way, Wadsworth. I refuse to believe that you've misinterpreted my affections. I am wholly in love with you, and it is permanent." There it was, the admission I had been craving. He nervously bit his lip, unsure even with all his powers of deduction, if I could ever truly love him back. Wanted to remind him of our conversation about how there was no formula for love. Found my pulse racing for an entirely different reason. I was ready to accept Mr. Thomas Cresswell's hand, and it terrified and thrilled me at once. He watched as I stood taller and thrust my chin up. If I was going to submit to my own feelings, I needed to be sure of one last thing. "Will you only ask my father's permission to court me?" I needed to know. "What of my feelings? I might fancy Nikolai." "You've not asked me directly." Thomas unflinchingly held my gaze. "If that's true, then tell me, and I will never speak of this again. I would never force my presence upon you." I couldn't I couldn't help thinking of the detective inspector who worked the Ripper case with us, about his ulterior motives. It's quite a lovely thought, but for all I know, you've already spoken to my father and a date has been set. Something similar has happened before. Blackburn was a fool. I believe you should always have a choice in the matter. I wouldn't dream of excluding you from your own life. Father would likely be, I'm not sure. He might not approve of such a modern approach. You are asking my permission before his. I thought you cared about his opinion." Thomas lifted his hand to my face, carefully stroking the trails of trails of fire along my jawline. True, I want your father's approval, but I want your permission, no one else's. This can't work any other way. You're not mine to take. He brushed his lips across mine softly, so softly I might have imagined them there. My eyes fluttered shut. He could persuade me to build a steamship to the moon when he kissed me. We could orbit the stars together. You are yours to give. I stepped into the circle of his arms and placed a palm against his chest, guiding him toward the tufted chair. He figured out too late that there was something bigger than a cat chasing him. He had attracted the attention of a lioness, and he was now my prey. That I choose you, Cresswell. I delighted in the fact that he stumbled into the chair, eyes wide. He moved closer until I was standing before him and nudged his limb with my knee, teasing. It's not polite to play with your meal, Wadsworth, hasn't? I love you, too. I captured his lips with my own, allowing his arms to encircle me and draw me closer still. He opened his mouth to deepen our kiss, and I felt the heavens split within the universe of my body. I didn't care about Anastasia or crimes or anything other than, much as I hate to break you two up, Daciana coughed. We have a visitor. So, yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes in this series so far.
I like the next line where Daciana calls her the bringer of death.
Yes. She says her outfit's very bringer of death. Because Daciana is fully supportive of Audrey Rose looking and acting like a badass. But the thing that I loved most about that was his insistence that she needed to be in on the, like, that he hadn't even talked to her father yet. He was talking to her first. He understands that it's her choice. Would you say they're officially engaged at this point, or that they're officially courting at this point?
Courting.
Okay. Because there's been some tweets on Kerri Maniscalco's page about how she's been researching the like pre-Victorian era wedding things. Not that she's planning a wedding or anything for book 4. Because she pointed out that, everybody, like, a lot of the fans want there to be a wedding for obvious reasons. And she's like, well, they've only known each other a few months. And Audrey Rose is like 17. And girls at that time period didn't get married until they were at least like 19 or 20. And they usually were engaged for long periods before that. Because she's done a research. And I personally would be fairly happy with just like the series ending with like a future of them getting married and maybe having some kids, because they've talked like she's talked about how Thomas kind of wants a brood of children, and I kind of want to see the brilliant children that they would create.
As opposed to the psychotic children that you would get if you went out with Anastasia.
Yeah, like, though to be fair, I'm not sure I'd call his and Audrey Rose's children sane either.
I said psychotic. Their children at least will not be psychotic.
Right. No, but they may break the world. But only in good ways, hopefully. Hopefully they don't have a Nathaniel in their midst.
Ooh, I'm sure you would.
I have a book that just shipped.
Oh. I'm like,
guess what book?
The Kingdom of Ash.
No, I have that already.
Oh, never mind.
Big Damn Hero.
Okay.
It's a Firefly book.
Oh, yeah. Take my love, take my land, take
I'm excited for it.
Cannot stand.
Especially with that title.
I don't care.
Yeah, so out of the two books, I like this one a lot better. I feel like with the faking of the death, it threw us a little bit more curveballs, and also with the multiple Deus Ex Machina moments, because those were,
you can't predict those. Those come out of nowhere. Right. That's the definition of Deus Ex Machina.
But they were curveballs. Crazy completely unpredictable curveballs, but curveballs nonetheless. So next, we will be reading this beauty.
And I will be reading it on my new giant Kindle.
It
is the length of my forearm.
That is a giant Kindle.
It is the length of my forearm.
I have to get one of those next time I get next time I upgrade.
I broke the screen on my old one.
Yeah, Sean thinks my speakers are going out on mine.
Oh.
I don't think they necessarily are. They're only really quiet when it's been dead for a while and it's got a charge. So I think it's more of like it doesn't, because it's at like 1% when I finally get it turned on. It doesn't have the power to actually like pump out the speakers the way it's supposed to. Because I've only noticed it being super quiet when it's charging up after being like completely drained. But so what did you think of this one? How many stars would you give it?
Oh shoot, I should have thought of that already. I don't know.
Because I know you enjoyed the first one. You didn't like it as much as me, but you enjoyed the first one.
Yes, and I still don't like this one as much as you like this one. Actually, I think I like the first one better. Stop staring at me.
I think this is a solid 4.5 for me. I really, really like it. I really like seeing the relationship development between the two, because really that's the main reason I read these books, is because of Thomas and Audrey. I love like their coupledom is just it's everything to me. Because I don't know, like I don't read a lot of murder mystery. I don't read a lot of gore, but just something about
how I feel about gore.
Yeah.
What book was it that I wanted to hurt you so bad?
Oh, it was Three Dark Crowns.
Oh my god.
Have you read One Dark Throne yet?
I think I started. I'm like, I can't do this.
I may have to force you through the rest of the series. I still need to read Two Dark Reigns though, and the little novellas books that like they came out with one a novella, like a book with two little novellas in it that I need to read.
I think I've seen that at the bookstore.
I can't remember what it's called right now, but yeah, I have those to read. And
I was going to leave her neck out so bad for that book. If you're lucky, you live 3 hours away.
I really want to read her Anna Dressed in Blood book series, which I'm thinking probably, like, I feel like she's an author that just has very dark books.
Oh, I ain't doing that
one. But yeah, so I could do without the gore most of the time. I think sometimes it's fitting, but like
at least
Tree of Bones and Bath of Blood is a little much for me.
At least this one didn't have that picture of that like hand.
The hand with leprosy.
Yeah.
I feel like this one had way less pictures in it.
It did, and all the pictures were sane.
Like I feel like a lot of the pictures were like Brashov scenery, like Romanian pictures, or
there was that one that was inside of a forensic school.
I feel like, and then there's this one. But there's yeah, so it was a lot more like just like less medical stuff and more like just plot wise plot stuff. But I'm really excited to read the next one because I haven't read it yet. So it'll be all new to me. And once we're done with that, we'll be moving on to Song of Achilles and then Circe, because that was Robin's suggestion. And so we'll be doing that next.
I need to go read a kid's version of the Iliad. There is a picture book version of the Iliad.
Yeah, there's a picture. My son has found a like interactive version of Pride and Prejudice at our library. Like it's almost like a pop-up book. And I want to buy him it for his birthday, and Sean said no more books because apparently we have too many books.
No such thing.
I know, right?
You just need more bookshelves.
We kind of don't have room for more bookshelves, which I do kind of agree with. We need
you need floating bookshelves.
I need a bigger house.
You need floating bookshelves. You have wall space somewhere.
But we once we're done with that, are we going to move on to like we each suggest another series and then let people choose?
I feel like we need to get around to at least one set of bad books with buddies.
We should do at least one set of bad books with buddies. As much as I don't want to put off finishing the Lunar Chronicles, because I've decided my next suggestion is going to be the Lunar Chronicles.
I haven't gotten that far yet.
Because I started reading, like I read Cinder a couple of months ago, and I just finished Scarlet, and I need to know what happens.
Okay, look, you have a list of like 150 books on your to be read list. Pick another one to read while you wait.
But so and the bad part is I got the entire set of Lunar Chronicles for my birthday. Like one of my friends bought me the box set hardcover.
Ooh, that's a good friend. That wasn't me. Hey, I am still proud of myself for buying you all of those Dark Hunter books.
Yeah, the ebook ones, yeah, they're pretty.
I need to go. I feel the need to reread them so I can keep going on with the series. But that's a lot of books.
So I'm gonna have to rebuy all of Kristen's books, by the way.
Pourquoi?
Because she's gonna be republishing them under her new name.
Oh. Alors oui.
What?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it came out more like so, yeah, but okay.
She told me she's working on Dual Blessed again. I assume she probably had some trouble with the divorce and stuff. She having
she wasn't writing, and then when she was writing, she wasn't writing Blessings of Marilia, and I'm like, seriously, get back to the
Blessed.
I'm like, I would occasionally pester her, like, when is this book coming? She's like, I'm not writing it. I'm like, write the dang book.
So one of Robin's WoW guild buddies is an author, and I'm obsessed with her books, and even sent her first bit of fan mail.
And it was the cutest thing. Not that Julie sent fan mail, but that they were fangirling each other all over Facebook.
We still do that sometimes.
It's not as bad as it used to be, but they were fangirling all over Facebook.
Yes, I've added her on Facebook, and every so often I'm like, Blessings of Marilla are awesome. And then I'm like, hey, Kristen, when's book 4 coming out? I need book 4.
Yeah, I get it when she's in the middle of playing a video game. Like, Kristen, why are you playing? Why are you not writing?
But yeah, so she went through a divorce and changed her name back to her maiden name, and she's going to be changing all the books over. And it kind of makes me sad because now I have to buy the books all over again so that all my ones match. And I have 2 signed, and I was planning on getting the other 2 signed. And yeah, now I'm going to have to scrap that and redo it all over again.
I mean, if you fangirl hard enough, she might send you some new signed copies.
She might. Apparently, the fact that she has a fan excites her.
Oh my god. Oh my, it was so funny to read.
So the reason why I sent her mail was because she had told Robin that if I sent her a self-addressed
envelope,
a self-addressed and stamped envelope, she would send me bookmarks. So I did, explaining who I was. And she mailed me back this giant manila envelope. Not even the one I sent, like not even something I sent her, but a giant manila envelope with a signed copy of her first book and like a bunch of bookmarks.
And she was geeking out all over Facebook. Oh my God, it's my first fan mail. It was adorable. I'm all over Facebook. I'm on Facebook, you know, reading Julie's Facebook where she's all happy to be getting this book, and you know, Chris's Facebook where she's just happy she has a fan.
And so like I basically like everybody I know who is looking for a new series, I'm like, read this.
I mean, we have already pimped her book out. I mean, we could totally pimp it out again. Unblessed, read it.
It's probably you can probably still find it under Kristen Goodwin. I don't think she's changed it over to McDaniel yet.
Probably not.
Because that takes time and money. But you can find. I don't know if you can find it anywhere other than Amazon.
I doubt it because I think she published it through Amazon.
Okay. Yeah, so she self-published through Amazon, I believe. And it's amazing and it's wonderful and it's all things beautiful and I can't wait.
And the book is currently only $4.88.
Wow. Like that's what, is that the ebook or
no, that is the paperback.
Yes.
The ebook is $3.
Wow. Yeah, so go read it. Go read it. It's really cheap. Do it.
And it's really good. And yes, it's still Kristen Goodwin. I forgot why I was on this page.
Because we were pimping out our book to our not viewers.
Yeah. I feel the need to. I forgot how to do this already. There it is.
So one last thing I want to do before we move on to actually reading this book.
Quoi?
I want to read the blurb so that they know kind of what they're in store for next time we talk. So, escaping from Houdini, Audrey Rose Wadsworth and her ever-vexing companion Thomas Creswell set sail on the luxurious RMS Etruria en route to their next investigation in America. On board the ship's 7 nights of carnival entertainment, starring a promising young escape artist, proved to be the perfect distraction from the grim task that awaits. But the voyage quickly descends into a horror show when young women begin turning up dead. For Audrey Rose, the moonlit carnival, with its disturbing acts and bizarre characters, becomes a nightmarish backdrop to her next search for answers, with clues to the next victim's identity pointing to someone she loves. Can Audrey Rose unravel the mystery before the killer's horrifying finale?
That someone she loves is her cousin.
Most likely because she's flirting with an escape artist.
Yeah. I wonder how she got whatever Audrey's aunt's name, how she got her to agree to let her go.
I don't know.
Do you think Darcy's going to be in this one?
I hope so. I love Darcy.
I love Darcy too.
Thomas's sister is all of Thomas's charm with none of his like infuriating obtuseness.
Yeah. She's human.
So part of the thing I love about this is it's kind of a like it's got a very Sherlock Holmesy feel with Thomas being Holmes and Audrey being what's his face?
Watson.
And except she's female and
have you not seen okay, you probably haven't. Elementary has a female Watson.
Yes, I knew that. She's played by Lucy Liu.
Yes.
I haven't actually watched it, but I've heard of it.
I watched a bit.
But I feel like it's similar time period to Holmes. except girl and boy, and they're in love.
I should really stop fidgeting while we're recording.
I don't think you can.
I can't.
Like, you always fidget unless you have a book in your hands.
Then I'm just fidgeting with a book.
But yes, so that's what we'll be reading next, and I'm really, really excited for it because it's something brand new, even though it's like, the plot will be brand new for me, and I've been waiting since it came out to read it. I'm actually really kind of upset because I still can't get it on audio from my library.
Which means I can definitely read it faster than you.
I'm actually really kind of upset by that because, like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I wish, like, it's moments like these that I kind of wish I had a Audible subscription. Like, I have a couple of Audible books from, like, signing up for the free trial. They were doing, like, a get 2 books free thing, and so get 2 credits, so I got 2 books, and I kind of wish I had an Audible subscription for things like Kingdom of Ash and Escaping from Houdini that aren't at the library yet.
Oh, it's at my library, but we only have one copy on ebook or audiobook, and it's already checked out. And there's one person waiting besides me. Let me see if I can get the ebook right now while we're talking.
Which means that you wouldn't be able to bring it.
Dang it, I have to go actually to the library and pick the dang book up.
Because the ebook's checked out.
And there's one ebook and there's 4 people waiting on it.
But yeah, because, like, I personally like supporting my library, and I get all the books I can from there.
Oh, I'm just cheap.
Well, there's that too. I don't like to buy books that I'm not going to read over and over again. So I generally get them from the library first, unless it's an author that I'm familiar with or a series that I'm familiar with. Like, anything Tamora Pierce comes out with is an automatic pre-order.
That's what I'm waving at, my Tamora Pierce books. They're in my bookshelf right there. They make me happy.
I haven't actually read Tempest and Slaughter yet.
Oh, I haven't either. What I want to read are some more circle books. I was promised a Tris at Lightbridge book years ago. She has been promising that for like 6 years.
Longer, I think.
I think so too. I think I wasn't even here yet. I think I was Harbor.
I think she's been promising that since I was in high school.
Well, I remember she had a date for like 2012 or something.
She's really pushing back her publishing, though. Like,
she has gotten to the point where she has taken off the date and won't tell us when it's coming out.
But she did that for a long time with the Newmare Chronicles too.
And then they finally came. I want my Tris at Lightbridge. Tris at Lightbridge. I really like the circle books. They have everything I need in a book. People with magic whose magic is stronger together. Why are you laughing?
Because that's such a like hilariously like specific niche that you love.
And for a long time, I had a stack of Twitch's books up there. I put them up somewhere and I don't know where. But my stack of Twitch's books, that falls into the same category.
Yes.
People with magic whose magic is stronger. It should not be that hard for me to find that. It is. I'm like, can't we find some more chosen ones somewhere? Plural, not ones.
I feel like that's part of why you liked whatchamacallit so much.
I am not as psychic as I tell people I am.
Witchlands. I mean, their magic's not specifically stronger together, but they are the Carawet.
Yeah, I don't think that's why I like Witchlands. I think I just like the Witchlands.
Okay. Which Blood Witch is coming out in like 2 months. Like January.
But that might be why. Did you ever get around? You finished the first what was that book? It was the other African magic book that wasn't Children of Blood and Bone.
Akata Witch? I
Yes.
finished Akata Witch. I have not finished Akata Warrior yet.
Okay, it's like an Akata Witch where they all had something to do, although that's not as strong of a connection as I normally would like.
Right, because their magic's not bonded together.
They're not bonded together, and they don't, they can do a lot of the same things, but where they all have their part to play.
Right.
I like stuff like that. Just saying, YouTube people, if you can find a book that fits this description, I will love you forever.
So you said you said you want to do a bad book buddies.
Yes, bad books with buddies. Which is what we originally were talking about when we started this channel.
Yes, because Robin can be quite cutting and it's hilarious and you all need to see it.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So do you have any idea?
Just mean that is what Robin's problem is.
Do you have any idea what we should start with?
No. Okay. I remember when we were talking about it, I can only remember two books we were talking, or two series we were talking about. And that was Twilight and House of Night, which I have not finished.
We also talked about doing 50 Shades.
We did? Okay.
And the stupid Handbook for Mortals thing.
I don't even remember that
one. It was the one that was written by somebody and then they faked their way onto
yeah.
Onto the
to the bestsellers list by buying their own book and then selling them.
Yeah. She's still claiming she's a New York Times bestseller, by the way.
Well, of course she is. She is never going to let that go.
But yeah, so
those after that, the New York Times is probably going to figure out a way that will never happen again.
Hopefully. But so those are our suggestions for bad ones. If we want to do bad right after Circe, let us know what you guys think we should do. What your preferences would be for a series. I know a lot of people actually like Twilight and 50
a lot of people like everything we just said.
This is true. This is true. I don't think I know anybody who actually enjoyed Handbook for Mortals, though.
The only thing I've heard about that book is that she faked her way onto the list.
Yeah, I was following that for quite a bit, and every so often she appears back, like being ridiculous and crazy, and it's hilarious. Like anytime I need like drama, I just look her up, and it's great.
Oh, hey, House of Night is on my shelf too.
House of Night would be a really long series to read.
I know. I was just thinking that if we did House of Night, we would have to break it up.
Like read like 3 books and then discuss or something.
Yeah.
Because it takes forever and it's so like, or we'd read a book and then do some good reading and then
it's like I need a detox from this book.
It's so bad.
I want to say the last 3 books I have not read.
I finished it. And read the short stories.
I read the short stories.
I haven't picked up the new ones because I was like, no, it's done.
Oh, no, I haven't even thought of the new ones.
I think they're technically like a spin-off series or something that actually takes place entirely in the other world.
There's another world?
Yes, Nyx's world.
Oh.
You know, where Gay Boy went to when he died. Jack. Which was one of the most devastating deaths in a bad book I've ever read.
Jack was so sweet. Why didn't
you? He was one of the best parts of the book.
He made my life happy. Okay, that's not true.
To be fair, those books are the reason we call each other twin.
That is the reason we actually started talking.
Yeah, yeah. Our tastes have changed a lot.
It only took a couple years too. It's not that our tastes have changed a lot. It's just that series. That's it.
True. And I think that was more like the series seriously just went downhill.
Probably.
I feel like it went off the rails.
It did.
It tried too hard.
I think once you get past like book 3 or 4 or something like that, maybe 5, it's like, what the heck am I reading?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when Aaron went bad. That pissed me off.
I didn't get that far.
I'm clearly the Aaron of this twindom, and it pissed me off. Water is my element.
Sorry. Sorry. That's all I can say is sorry.
So, yeah,
I mean, clearly I'm like
after we finish Circe, like after we do Song of Achilles and Circe, I'm up for either a bad one or a good one if you end up having a suggestion.
okay.
And yeah, we with House of Night, if that's the one we do, we definitely have to break it up because it just take too long of just like, what the F are we reading?
It would be like, Robin, it's only 300 pages. Why did it take you 2.5 months to read it?
Either that or we'd be doing this like every 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, that ain't happening. Not with House of Night.
Yeah.
I would have thrown it at the wall, and I would be at work throwing it at the wall, and I would be at the library throwing it at the wall. And then the library would get mad at me.
Yeah.
And they're like, you don't understand. This is a horrible book.
It's really bad. She tries way too hard.
They
tried way too hard.
The first book, I feel like it was good.
I feel like even then they were doing a lot of like super anti, like she does the same things to people of the faith that she feels like they do to her in judging them, to where she's surprised when the nuns are good people.
Were there nuns in the first book?
I don't know if there were nuns in the first book, but they were very shortly thereafter.
Okay. The first book seemed good. Also, the people of the faith were kind of, at least, in her house.
In her house, yes, but you can't judge all people of the faith by one person. And she was doing it by one person, her stepfather, who is a hypocrite.
And her mother after that.
And her stepfather was a hypocrite. Anyway, but I gotta get going. And we're kind of done talking about the book anyway. So bye, everybody. We will hopefully be not so long in waiting to talk about Escaping from Houdini. Hopefully. I'm excited.
We'll see what happens this week. I only work 2 days. You love me.
I do. Bye, everybody.